Hi everybody, this is Chat and Craft with Lorraine, and I am Lorraine Tierney. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Warner, New Hampshire, and I'm going live today to play with the Gingko branch stamp set. So this card has some embossing on it. Oh, I hope you can see it. Let me see. Yeah, the white is clear embossed. We're going to do some embossing today, which is one of my favorite things to do, and make this card. Let me just say today is Sunday, March 12th, and if you're catching this live, I'd love for you to say that you're here and introduce yourself. And if you're watching the replay, let me know too. And I just may pick out somebody to send one of these cards to when, after a couple of days and people have a chance to comment or let me know that they've watched it. You can also find all of my past Facebook Lives on YouTube, and sometimes it's a little bit easier to scroll through and see them there. All right, so this is the Gingko branch bundle. I love this stamp set. I love these Gingko leaves, and I love, you can see it's kind of a distinctive stamp set, and it shades a little bit as it stamps. You can see the green is shaded, and it comes with some dies that are also beautiful. A nice sentiment die that cuts out these sentiments, sending hope and peace, thinking of you with sympathy and friend. And then it has some other detailed dies and dies that cut out the stamps. We're only using this little die today. We'll use this one in a little bit. Actually, I've already cut the things out. I have limited time for lives these days as my grandson's taking very short rests these days. No more naps. So I've got a lot of stuff done ahead of time. So I'm going to take this big stamp and I'm going to put it on here. It's hanging off just a little bit. I don't want to use my Stamparatus because I want to stamp it a couple of times across my card. All of these measurements are in a blog post that I'll link to after this is done. I forget the exact measurements. I don't even want to make a guess as to what those measurements are. But I'm using a spot of Parakeet Party, and I'm really shaking the table. Let me hold that stamp in my hand. And I'm trying to make sure I get it well inked up. Okay, and I'm going to stamp this twice on this piece of white card, and I'm going to leave some room at the top. I want some white space at the top. Okay, there it is once. I love this Parakeet Party color. It's bright and springy, and I love it. Okay, and I'm going to do another one, and I'm not too worried if things overlap or if they're at a slightly different angle. There we go. And I'm going to just leave that aside. We're done with that. And I'm going to wave this around a little bit to let it dry because we're going to heat emboss on this now. So I know I have, here it is, my little embossing buddy, so that the powder will stick only to the Versamark. I'm getting rid of static, hopefully, and things so that it won't stick where I don't want it. And now I'm going to take the single leaf stamp. There is also a double one. I made the others with the single, but let's try the double and see what we think of that. We'll do something a little bit different. And I'm going to, whoops, dimensional backings. Do you find those everywhere? I just found one in my ink. I'm going to ink this up with my Versamark. You can get a refill for your Versamark as well as other inks, because your embossing powder won't stick if it's too dry. So I'm going to just stamp this several times across my paper at varying heights. And I'm going right over the green sometimes, and sometimes I'm mostly in the white. Okay? You can't really see where that Versamark goes down. And now I'm going to put some clear embossing powder over it. I could use white. No, I'm going to stick with the clear. So some of the leaves might look shiny green if they're stamped with the Versamark over a green leaf, or they're going to look white if they're just on the white paper. So I'm making sure that I have good coverage. You can see where I have those leaves. Let me get this out of the way so I don't blow my embossing powder all over the place. And now I'm going to heat set that. I'm going to hold it with these scissors or tweezers, reverse tweezers. Hi Sharon. Hi Joanne. Hi Sue. Thank you for joining. I'm going to move this a little bit away from my phone so it won't be super noisy. So hopefully you can hear me talk better than you can hear that. And when it's ready to melt, I'll bring it a little bit closer. Nothing beats the magic of watching embossing powder melt. I just love it. There it goes. You see it turning sparkly and clear. You can also feel after you think it's melted, give it a second to cool off, and then feel it, and it should feel smooth. It should not feel sandpapery. If it's still sandpapery, you haven't melted it well enough. So let me check that out. Give it just a minute to cool off. Oh yeah, that feels good. So it doesn't take too long to cool, but we are gonna give it a little bit of time to cool. And I'm gonna get one of these mini blending brushes. Actually, I'm gonna get two, because we're gonna use a little balmy blue at the top, and we're gonna use a little bit of the parakeet party on the bottom. So I'm gonna start with some parakeet party. I'm wiggling my wiggly table again. And I just got a little bit of the ink off, because you don't want to start with too big a blob. Sue, you like heat embossing too? And watching it melt? I love it. Embossing is definitely one of my favorite techniques to use. Okay, and I'm just going lightly with the parakeet party where the majority of the green leaves are. Kind of to make it look more like a shrub or a bush, a little more solid color there. There's one more area I want to get. Okay, and you can go as light or as dark with that as you want. It's really just personal preference. And now I'm going to use a little of the Balmy Blue. And I've switched to a different blending brush. You can use your blending brushes with more than one color. When I do that, I tend to wipe them off on a microfiber cloth, or I've seen people use their chamois to wipe them off. But you'll want to get some of the color off before you go into another thing of ink, or you can put your ink on your block. If you're afraid of mixing colors, you can put some ink on your block and pick it up that way. Okay, and I'm liking the varied look of the color on this because I want it to kind of look like sky up there. And am blending just a little bit of blue into the leaves, just a bit, to kind of smooth that transition a little bit. Okay. So those are my colors there. I have a little more variation in color, it looks like, than I did on the other cards. But that's okay. It's really okay to do it whichever way you like. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to mat it on a piece of Blackberry Bliss. There's Blackberry Bliss reminds me, a lot of people are talking about how some Stampin' Up! Colors are going to retire and they're going to bring in some new ones or maybe bring back some old ones. And a lot of people say Blackberry Bliss can go. They wouldn't miss it. And I love Blackberry Bliss. I don't necessarily use it as much as some of the other colors, but I love it. So that's Blackberry Bliss, and this is just probably 1/8 of an inch bigger in measurements than the white was. And then we're going to put it on a standard card base that is 8.5 by 5.5. Joanne, you love Blackberry Bliss too? Yeah. I love it with Balmy Blue. I think that's a great combination. All right, and we're going to center this right on my card base. I think I had a little something at the bottom there, so we'll just flip it over. I'm going to use my liquid glue to adhere that. And then we're going to put our die cuts on. And here's why I like the liquid glue, because that wasn't quite centered and I could move it. All right, so I cut out that leaf sprig in Blackberry Bliss and in Balmy Blue and Parakeet Party. So I'm going to put all three on. You can do this with the liquid glue, and there's kind of at the base of each leaf there's a good spot for putting a little glue. And then we'll use the sentiment to hold the stems down. I'm just going to hold that in place for a little bit. And I think I'll do the green one next. I hope you can see the shine of that clear embossing. It really adds a nice touch. I probably could have done a little bit more on this one. but I think you can see that. It's really pretty. And here's the last leaf we're going to put on. And where am I going to put this one? I kind of piled them up on the others. I'm going to go just like that. It doesn't seem to want to stay. There we go. Now, I already cut out the sentiment strip from Balmy Blue, and I'm going to use the Thinking of You. Last weekend I was looking for a Thinking of You stamp, and I forgot to use this one. I really like this one. It's a pretty little font. Now I'll show you. I have 2 of these cards made already because I did use this in a class. Here it is stamped in the Balmy Blue, and that came out great. And here it is. I tried to stamp it in the Blackberry Bliss, and for some reason the Blackberry Bliss would not dry well on this paper, and it smudged no matter how long I waited. I think I tried 3 times. So we're doing the Balmy Blue today for sure. Okay, and I'm going to move this down just a little so I can see where I'm stamping it. And I'm going a little bit to the right of center. There we go. Oh, and I forgot to grab dimensionals. Let me go get those. Oh, those are foam strips. Here we go. I found mini dimensionals. Dimensionals were not where they're supposed to be, but I found some mini ones. So I'll just put a few of these back here. And then we're going to put some bling on it. And then we'll have a quick but pretty card. Something that looks, I think, a little bit more complicated. Although I think they all look more complicated than they are. Whoops. Once you know how to make them, it's like, oh, I can do that. And I know that you can do this. So there's Thinking of You. And we need some bling, of course. No card is complete without bling. So these had very tiny pearls on them. Can you see those? Well, when I was getting ready very quickly for this, I could not find little pearls. I have the flat adhesive backed pearls that go with the By the Bay Sweet. Hey, Kristan, how are you? I hope South Carolina is good. I have some iridescent basic jewels, and I have some in color matte dots in the Parakeet Party, and these are Tahitian Tide, but those would also go. So what do you guys think? Which ones do you think I should use? Somebody go out on a limb and give me a vote. We have lots of choices. I've made a cut. Well, I'm waiting for that to come in. I'm going to tell you, I've made a couple of other cards with this that I absolutely love. One is very simple. I'm going to grab it. Well, maybe I'm not going to grab it. Here it is. I think of this as a sympathy card. Sue says Parakeet Party. It's just black and white with a little basic gray for this sentiment piece, and I embossed this in white. So I think that makes a really pretty sympathy card. And Christine says the green ones. Maybe we'll get one more vote. And we can break the tie. Joanne says green. Oh, you all said green. Oh, I'm not reading that very well. You all said the in color green. Okay, parakeet party it is. I love when it's unanimous. All right, so I like to mix up the sizes when I put them on. I'm going to put a bigger one down here. Sharon likes the green too. Good. And I'm putting it near the sentiment, which is raised up, and hoping that that helps protect it a little bit. And I'm going to put a little one in there. Whoa, and I sent one flying. And another little one over here. And I think they like to do 3, and that is it. So there's a card with some embossing to give it a little pizzazz, and that Gingko branch stamp set and bundle. And here it is in just a black and white. That's really pretty too. I love this sympathy card, Joanne. I think that's just so pretty. All right, well, I hope you guys liked it. I hope you'll give it a try. If you don't have the Gingko branch stamp set, you could try this technique of stamping with ink and then also stamping some in clear embossing powder with other flowers or other stamp sets that you can repeat leaves a little bit and see how you like it. Then use some blending brushes, and I love the way the embossed areas just resist the ink. You can wipe them off with a paper towel if you think they've held a little bit of ink, but with the blending brushes, they don't pick up too much. So I hope you'll give it a try, and I'd love it if you would like this video, and if you'd like to share it so more people can see it, that's also great. If you'd like to follow my page, that helps me get in front of more people also. If there's any way I can help you make cards and send cards at home, I'd love to do that. That is one of the biggest joys in my life, is making cards and sending cards and helping other people to make and send cards. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy some sunshine before we get some winter weather, at least here in the Northeast. Christine, you're probably going to miss the winter weather. I know, you're sorry about that. Anyway, have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.